Welcome, everyone, to Sharing the Same Cielo Part 3. Muy contenta de poder darle la bienvenida a todos aquí presentes esta noche. My name is Alicia Diaz. I am a long-time Pepatián artist and now also co-facilitator of Dancing La Botánica, La Tierra Vive, which is the collective of artists that will be here tonight. And I am here with my co-facilitator for the night.
Yes. Hi, Alicia. Hi, everybody. My name is Linda Bonilla. I am a visual artist and part of the Pepatián collective. Thank you tonight for joining us on our last night of the series, La Botánica Collective, Sharing the Same Cielo. And we're here tonight to just show you what we've been doing during the pandemic. And I'd like to introduce you to our director of Pepatián, Dr. Jane Gabriels.
Hello, thank you so much for that introduction. Alicia, Linda, hello Melanie. Melanie is the videographer for this evening. But we just wanted to thank you for being here. And I just realized it's so nice, Alicia's primary discipline is dance and Linda's primary discipline is visual arts, which is kind of the foundation for Pepatián. And I'll tell you more of how Pepatián began. So things to say. So we'd really like to thank Ostos for hosting us the third evening for Oslo Center for the Arts and Culture. Once again, collaborating with Pepatián Bronx Arts Collaborative. Really want to thank Felix and Greg and Katie. We also want to take a moment to acknowledge where Pepatián does the majority of its work, which is on the lands of the Siwanoy and the Wicquagsqueak nations. And just as we continue learning about their stewardship, and just learning more about what that means to be on lands that were part of the First Nation homeland since time immemorial, and how we've only been here a minute. And if you get the chance, if you get to Classen Point Park at any point this summer, there's a park bench with a little plaque that we organized as a gesture to remember the Siwanoy that used to gather there annually. We did some research with Caridad de la Luz, Bronx River Alliance, New York City Parks, and that was the gathering site. And when you're sitting there on that bench, you can see why. There's two rivers on either side and this beautiful breeze that comes off the water. So it's a really special moment. So if you're there, have a seat on the bench, look out on the water. We also need to thank our funders, Department of Cultural Affairs. Thank you, DCA. New Yankee Stadium Community Benefits Fund, Mertz Gilmore Foundation, our very own Bronx Council on the Arts, and Havana Harlem. Also want to thank the artists, especially for taking the leap of faith yet again into another project. So this event is part of Dancing La Botánica, which began La Tierra Vive, which began in 2019 as part of Pepatián's ongoing work to support Latina, Latino, Latinx, and Bronx-based multidisciplinary artists. Pepatián was co-founded in 1983 by award-winning artist Marian Soto, who you'll hear from more this evening, and Pepon Osorio y Patty Bradshaw. And I was hired in 99, and my job, I figured it out. It's kind of to be listening for cues to see what we should do next, and then gathering the resources, and then getting good people together, and then getting out of the way. That's what I do. And there was a moment a couple of years ago when we realized that we really needed to do more for Latina, Latino, Latinx artists, and very intentionally to support the work. So I was able to get some funding together, and I happily invited Alicia Diaz y Beatriz Capote to be the project co-leads. And it was great. And then a lot of other wonderful artists joined in, and now we have this big collective of powerhouses. So far this project has been supported by Pregones Theater, BAD, Bronx Art Space, and now at Ostos, so that's really good. And what happened was, in January, Ostos got in touch. They were like, what are you doing this spring? And I was like, I don't know, let's talk about it. So Felix Arocho was like, how about a series? And I was like, series? And then the same day, Megan Couret wrote to me and said, I have a rooftop. What about a series? So that wasn't like listening for cues as much as like hitting it. Like, I think we need to do this next. Let's have a series. And there was something so special about the rooftop because it means that no matter, because the collective is it's big, it's expansive, this collective. So there's people in lots of different places. So focusing on a rooftop gave us a way to connect. And then from that, it morphed to the sky and to water and to the orishas, and you'll see. So yeah, it was a way to connect even in distance. And it was a way to offer something supportive during these days, to offer something creative, to offer a place for some really beautiful conversation and something that wasn't too stressful. That's the secret. And that's it. I'm done with my spiel. Thank you so much for coming here tonight. And I'm going to give it back to you, Alicia Diaz. Take the microphone. Thanks. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Jane, for that great introduction of what is a really multi-layered kind of project and difficult to put into simple words. So thank you so much for that. And we have really wonderful work to share with you tonight and a conversation to have amongst us and with you, with the audience. So I would love to now introduce the artists that will be here, and then we'll take it from there of how the evening will go. Before I go further, I just want to acknowledge that the co-facilitator that Jane talked about, that co-leads Dancing La Botánica, Beatriz Capote, is not able to be here with us today, but the work that you see is very much shaped also by her thinking and her sharing. And also Rockefeller, amazing artist, is not able to be with us tonight, and Megan Couret that Jane just spoke about, that make the entire collective with us. But let's invite in the people that are here. I'm really excited to invite first a dance artist and the digital dramaturg for this project, for Sharing the Same Cielo, Beverly Lopez. Hello, Beverly.
Hello. So happy to be here, everyone.
Excellent. And poet and powerhouse, Caridad de la Luz, also known as La Bruja.
Hi. Such a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to this, to seeing this, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And for those of you that saw part 1 and part 2 of this series, Caridad, of course, was the editor for those 2 videos.
So next, I'd like to introduce you the visual artist and video editor for this evening's video, Melanie Gonzalez.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Pepatián, and thank you, Hostos. It's a pleasure to edit this video for you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we would like to introduce poeta Rosalind Diaz.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here today.
Welcome. And I'd love to introduce movement artist and activist Noemí Segarra Ramirez, that is joining us from Puerto Rico tonight.
Gracias, Alicia. Buenas noches, todos desde la isla.
Yay. Bienvenida. And finally, I'll introduce award-winning choreographer and educator and our artist guest of honor for this culminating event, Merian Soto.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. Glad to be here. Wonderful company. Yes.
Thrilled to have you here today, Merian. A real privilege and pleasure.
It's mine. Thank you.
So I will pass it on to Linda, and anyone that can and wants to keep the video on, please do so for this part as we enter into the conversation. And so I'll pass it on to Linda.
So everyone, I'd like to share with you virtually and with the ladies here in the collective, La Botanica Collective, a practice that we organically decided that just evolved naturally. And so at the beginning of our practice, we do casual talk. And aside from that, we also do an offering. We like to offer things that inspire us, things that can help facilitate, things that just makes this whole collective happen. And Alicia asked me to offer something to you all, and don't have a dance or song or poem, but I'd like to share with you, this bouquet of flowers. This is a symbol. This is symbolism of you all, and everything that you do. This represents the beauty and diversity and the source of inspiration that you are, and all the work we have done pre, during, and now with the pandemic. It's been just a pleasure, and I honor you all. Thank you so much. I was hoping to get more flowers and more colors, pero I only had roses, pero ya tú sabes, roses are amazing, but I wanted to make sure this is here for you all and to the audience too, because beauty is in many forms, but a flower can really capture that all. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. And I hear Caridas, I can smell them from here. Beautiful. So we thought that we would end this offering of beauty and flowers and the healing that comes with both of those things, right? The healing that comes with the nature of flowers and the smell of the flowers that Caridad talked about, just with a collective breath. And maybe we can take 3 breaths together right where we are. You can either take the breath sitting as you are, we can add a little bit of movement. So whatever feels comfortable to you. And I'm inviting both our collective and all of the audience as well. So maybe we can begin with the arms down if you're going to do movement with the breath. And we'll just take the arms up as we inhale and bring them down as we exhale. So letting all of our air out. Let's inhale as we gather that beauty, and exhale to bring that down, grounding to the earth. Again, let's breathe in, inhaling new energy, new possibility, and exhaling, releasing that which we no longer need. And one more, inhale. And this time as we exhale, let's take a hand to the heart and another to our belly, to our gut. Just take a moment to feel that energy in your body and to feel that presence of being right here, right now, in the present moment. And gently opening the eyes, returning to center. Thank you. Beautiful. So we will continue to talk a little bit about what we're gonna do today. This is, as we've said, the culmination of a 3-part series that we have been working on through Sharing the Same Cielo. And so for those of you that were not here for the last 2 Fridays, we have been working with videos from all of our artists in different locations. So the core of our artists are in the Bronx. We then also have artists in Puerto Rico who are here with us tonight, Beatriz Capote, who is in Indiana, and myself, where I am in Richmond, Virginia. And so this work came about as a way of engaging with each other, of being able to share time and space in spite of distance, in spite of the pandemic that we were living, and as a way of looking for our practice as a really grounding, healing process, which is at the core of La Botánica and our work together. So this idea of sharing the same cielo is really, as Linda has talked about it recently, of sharing the cielo and the ocean and the waters as the container that is able to hold all of us. So in the first video, it was the artist from the Bronx and Beatrice in Indiana and myself in Richmond, Virginia. For part 2, it was the artist in the Bronx and artist in Puerto Rico. And for this part 3, it is all of us together, right? And so here we have all the dance and movement artists, the poets and the visual artists that have been part of this project. And so tonight you're gonna see sort of excerpts from everything together that were edited by Melanie Gonzalez, and we'll have a chance to hear from her about that process of editing. So I'll just say that for now. We're gonna come back. The video is about 20 minutes long, more or less. We'll come back for a conversation afterwards. And I just wanna invite all of you in the audience to use the chat to respond to anything that calls you as you're watching the video, ask questions or write images, anything that is coming up for you, to use the chat as an interactive space where we can engage in conversation with you from right now, from the beginning. I think that is all good. Yes. Okay, so let's go and watch the video. So all of us then will remember to unmute and take our video out. See you soon.
Yeah, 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 oh, I didn't move. Yeah, 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 oh, I didn't move. I didn't lo si. Yeah, yeah, oh, tolore fa. Arrivo yo, I didn't move. I didn't lo si. Yeah, 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 oh, I didn't move. Yeah, 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 oh, I didn't move, I didn't lo si. Yeah, yeah, oh, tolore fa, arrivo yo, I didn't move, I didn't lo si. Oshun. Oshun. madre de las aguas frescas, las aguas dulces, dueña del río, dueña de la riqueza, dueña del oro, Apetebi Oshun.
baby, my yeah, baby, loro, baby, my yeah, baby, loro, baby, my yeah, baby, loro, baby, loro, baby, my yeah, baby, loro, baby, my yeah, baby, loro, baby, my yeah, baby, loro, baby.
Gracias por tus limpiezas. Gracias por tu presencia que dominas, tu energía, tu cariño y protección. Gracias, Oshun. Te doy una ofrenda de movimientos frescas, movimientos sensuales. La sensualidad está siempre en mi lado. Gracias, Oshun, por darme esa riqueza. La riqueza de amor. La riqueza de la vida.
Though these streets are made of concrete, our presence is the only thing cemented into our sidewalks. Here, our names are spoken in the murmurs of the wind. We will not be bullied out of our neighborhoods by dollar signs. We will not be re-victimized, recolonized. My body is far more than a battlefield. My tongue, more than a sword and shield. I am water, able to quench your thirst and drown you. The choice is yours. You can only take me in small doses. You want to be like Moses and part my Red Sea? Want me a little less heard, a little more seen? While I'm busy looking up at the pretty skyscrapers, wondering how to make ends meet. Watching the clouds shape-shifting, daydreaming about taking back our community.
La sociedad se han santificado juez y jurado, empatía borrada, noticia titulada, no valía la pena de salvarlas, ni una más. No es un refrán, es una demanda. Deja de usar la propaganda para desviar tu responsabilidad, para cambiar la mentalidad que ayuda a propagar la violencia doméstica. ¿Cuándo vamos a parar el veneno espiritual que no deja a nuestras mujeres respirar? La tierra vive y no nos enterrarán. Este infierno de supremacía masculino lo vamos a pagar, gritando ni una más. Hear her calling wildly in the wood that whistles as it burns. Feel her pulling you tied in her tide with a lunar grip, holding you firmly to her hip, returning you to your birthing place, where your heart pounds clave rhythms under a moonlit orchestra of coquilles, winded in your avian paradise of humble beginnings, her bird song, a hammock that lulls you to sleep. Hair of palm trees dance in a bomba breeze, where everything is whole and complete, in the bosom of her beach, in the veins of dirt streets, where footprints beg to be planted at the mountain of her feet, in the dust of memories. Why try to outrun her? No matter how far you've roamed in space, this is where you belong. Mother said, come home.
Ite were were nita oshun, ite were were, ite were were nita oshun, ite were were nita iya, o chikini wa nita oshun, cheke cheke ita iya, ite were were, ite were were nita oshun, ite were were, ite were were nita oshun, ite were were nita iya. Chikini wa nita oshun, cheke cheke nita iya, ite were were, ite were were nita oshun, ite were were, ite were were nita oshun, ite were were nita iya, o chikini wa nita oshun, cheke cheke nita iya, ite were were, ite were were nita oshun, ite were were. Chikini wa nita oshun, cheke cheke ita
Yay.
Yeah,
Yay
that was
for everyone
wonderful. Wonderful.
coming back. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Melanie, for the work. And Marianne, thank you. We so wanted to dedicate this to you. And you really have brought us all together. None of us would be here if it
Yeah.
weren't for you.
I mean, you touch my heart. I'm really moved. I'm really moved, and thank you so much.
Yeah, you have your artistry is phenomenal. Leading the way as a woman, as a Puerto Rican, is has been just so instrumental for so many people. As I was watching, and I'll share this because as I was watching again today, I was remembering in the 1980s was the first time I saw your work at the Taller Latinoamericano in New York. And
Oh my God.
and I remember as a young dancer myself thinking, dance can be this? Dance can talk about these things? And a Puerto Rican dance artist for me it was a light of possibilities. And so yeah, thank you. I wanted to share that as I was watching this.
I would love to talk to you about that another time, but thank you so much. I mean, I'm just so moved by this dedication and your appreciation for my work. Because, you know, all of us as artists and as women artists and as Latina women artists, I think we're probably a lot used to like being ignored a lot. And so it's just, you know, and also in dance can be so ungrateful to us sometimes because, you know, now we videotape things, but when I was making work in the 80s, it was hard to video. I mean, the equipment was this huge stuff that you carried around. It wasn't like, you know, your phone. It was like big. It was like a big effort to video anything, to document anything was a huge effort. And, you know, people forget that we even existed. So I just feel very moved that for this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. So I think we're gonna try to like pivot into conversations and reflections from our last night together, but to continue off camera. And there's things that we'd like to recap and just discuss about process and how everybody's work here has been just so impactful and just bringing this light, this loose, like that only the sky can hold us together. And I actually want to ask Melanie a quick question. And Melanie, I was wondering if you could just share with us your your idea, or like what was the inspiration for you to create the segment that you did, your piece, and just being with us with the Botanica. I know the pandemic has really affected some of our schedules that sometimes we weren't all on camera at the same time, but I know there were other ways that we kept communicating, which was the visual journals as well as emails. So why don't you just share with us what you were thinking as you were working on this?
Well, thank you everybody for taking the time this evening to sit here and watch this. And, you know, that is precious time that you'll never get back. So I appreciate that. And I first want to thank Pepatián for inviting me into the Botanica and specifically to participate in this project. I would like to thank Hostos for hosting us. And I would like to shout out to OpenShot Video Editor, which is a free and open source video editing program. So that is that in my technological journey, that is something that I have a passion for, which is learning about open source programming. So my video editing process, I will say with this project has been very smooth because we have been planning this for many months, and through several monthly or bi-weekly meetings, us together, at first, none of this made sense to me. And then it kept making sense as the weeks went on until it finally made perfect sense. And then I said, okay, I know what I'm doing. So this project to me was a balance of being very methodical and very specific with numbers and aspect ratios and scale with the images, and balancing that with being free flowing and spontaneous. So to me, this video is a balancing act of being methodical and being creative and spontaneous. So that this video is a product of that workflow. And usually videos are very stressful for me, but this was not. This was, like I said, we had kind of a clear idea since I was asked to combine everybody's work and put my stamp on it, as Jane said, with my photography. It came together. It kind of wrote itself because my series, Piedra y Sombra, Rock and Shadow, is a double exposure photography series where I'm juxtaposing images from New York and America with countries in the Caribbean where my parents are from. So that juxtaposition, if I were to walk you through frame by frame, every single image has a story. And, so that is basically a photo essay in a video. And I had fun honoring Mrs. Merian Soto. It was nice to meet you in this way with these images, and we had planned months in advance to dedicate this to you. So I was honored to be able to do that here. And if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie, I would love to hear, like you said, each frame has like a story. Like what, maybe you can choose like one because there's some images that we haven't seen, right?
Right.
Like where are you? Some of these images are new for us. So
Okay.
what did you bring? Maybe choose one that you can tell us.
All right. Well, they're all from the main library of images from this project. And let's say the image of the statue of the wooden woman juxtaposed over the black and white mountains. So the black and white mountains, that site was the very inspiration for Rock and Shadow. So Rock and Shadow is a series of architectural landscapes with natural landscapes. So in film camera, I juxtapose those images. So I'm mixing buildings with nature, right? Just like the scene of the lighthouse, the Faro de Arecibo, with the surrounding cactus, that's imposed in camera. So the sculpture of the wooden woman, I found it interesting because that was created by former incarcerated men who were doing a community service in Dominican Republic. So even here in the States, they have a lot of rehabilitation programs where former inmates are doing community service, like doing masonry and building things in the community. So that was actually what do you call it? A sewage system in Dominican Republic in Salcedo. And throughout the whole sewage system, they built this nature park in the forest. So it's called Bosque de la Mujer, Forest of the Woman. And there's dedications of different women from around the world in that park. It's called Bosque de la Mujer. So I took that photo on film and I juxtaposed it with that image of the Red Rock Canyon in Nevada, because that was a site, I have more images from that I can explain why that is the inspiration for the name, but that's one small frame that has a lot going on in it. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah. No, that was great. Thank you. Thank you. It was beautiful seeing that. And I really appreciated how your editing skills of having that scene where the sky and the ground is just like it's mirroring each other, and then you see the people in the middle. That was beautiful. And then just seeing the visuals that were done in the last two cycles with Caridad, La Bruja, was able to use some of her visuals as well, which was very powerful. And I was very grateful I'll have the opportunity to have some of my documentary work of film, taking images of El Barrio, other parts of the Bronx and the city, as well as La Isla, where my family's from, Jauco and Cabo Rojo, respectively. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful way that you Melanie and Caridad, the way you melded the visuals into complementing the ladies' work that really spoke about, I think, something that really touches us all about the importance of place and how it matters to us, or why does it matter to us to create this, like these visuals, and our dances and the dances as well. We've all witnessed in the Bronx, Puerto Rico, in Richmond, in Indiana. Alita, do you want to help try to shape that question so we can see how we could brew it up?
Yeah, I think that it's very much in following what you were talking about, Melanie. As I was watching the work, I was thinking how the overlaying of images that you give really connects us geographically, right, in ways that we are unable to in quote unquote real life, right? Like there is this connection across geographies and across experiences, and so that leads to this question of place, right, of the importance of place. So be it the clock tower in the Bronx, or is it Vega Alta, Marianne, that you were in Puerto Rico, right? Beatrice is in Indiana, in a new place for her, but connecting there with the river. Caridad, you're kind of like, you're a bridge. I feel like you're a bridge here.
Yes.
Between the Bronx and Puerto Rico, as you are grounded in the Bronx and just spent a lot of time in Puerto Rico, right? And Rosalind, your work is so grounded in the streets, right? In New York, in the Bronx, and Beverly, for you too, that clock tower. So I guess the question is why, to think out loud, right? Today we were kind of thinking, let's bring themes to the table and to think out loud together, right? Like, why is it important for anyone can answer, like, what's the importance of creating in these particular places, right? What does that mean? What does that do? What does that yield for our work, right? What does it allow us to say? So if anyone wants to kind of take that.
Well, I was thinking that during this pandemic, because everything was closed down, like it made us see where we were in a different way. We created platforms to perform on and with what we had, so and beautifully it wound up, often being nature. So I just wanted to say that with the pandemic, it helped reshape where I saw myself and what backdrops to use. And, I never thought in a filmmaking, not never, I won't say never, but I hadn't allowed myself to think as deeply in a visual way in film or and putting that together. But what I also wanted to say that after this project, I can't look at the sky the same way. Like every time I look up, I think about this project and how we used it to connect us all, and and how I used it visually, like to travel through time and space. And so yeah, the cielo will never be the same.
Thank you, Gadi. Beverly, I was just wondering, maybe you could touch on your inspiration with the clock tower and the piece that you so beautifully done with relative to what Alicia was saying in terms of space and place and all the other themes that you've always been experimenting on.
Yeah, so space, we all Caridad just said, we all are looking at space in a different light now. And, you know, I started to think about what is sacred to me. And like, I've been trying to define that for myself, or at least understand what feels sacred, right? Because it's so, you know, that it's so heavy. And I think I started to move through this world in a way that made me want to like always feel like I'm carrying sacred energy with me everywhere, right? And so like honoring my bedroom as a place to improvise, obviously we've done that as dancers or maybe as artists, visual artists, playing with things and collaging. And I've done that too over the this time in this pandemic. But just understanding that like the world is a stage, like the world is my playing field. The world is available to me, and any space is available to me. The rooftop, the clock tower, a very iconic building that Megan Kure actually lives in currently as a resident, invited us into that space to move and groove, and also just provide space so that Bronx artists can actually utilize, right? And so we jumped on that opportunity, but like on that rooftop, very close to the sky, I felt like a sacred energy in there. I felt really connected to the themes of this work. There was a garden there, so I really connected to the nature. I utilized it in my own work, right, with the leaves and all that good stuff. But I think when I'm thinking about location and space, my whole mind just changed over the past, you know, year. And now I'm just wondering, how am I moving through space and knowing that like I can always move through any space, and that anything goes, and it's what I decide, and it's available to me because, you know, we didn't have theaters, you know, we didn't have an actual black box or a studio with the bar and the mirrors and all that good stuff. And so just like understanding that everything's fair game, you know, and what's going to be sacred to me and healthy to me is moving and grooving through life in all spaces, the supermarket. I mean, I'm brave as hell nowadays. Like you can catch me dancing in the train station, waiting for the sea to arrive now. And it's like I have this new bravery that came over me because I started to understand a little bit more what's sacred to me and what is healthy for me and what's fun for me and what is nurturing for me as I'm moving in this life as a Bronx resident, as a NYC girl, as a New Yorican, and as a woman who's part of this collective. And so thank you for providing space, more space to have things be fair game. Yeah.
Noemi, I think that's so connected to what you put in the chat of La Guagua area and moving, right? Maybe you can follow what you wanted to say there.
I've been thinking about migration and how, as Puerto Ricans, we have the US passport and this relationship that is, I don't know how we experience it or call it, but it's a colonial relationship, right? And how movement improvisation for me is like a practice of cimarronaje, wanting to move away to find freedom. And then I'm thinking of the collective experience of Puerto Ricanos, wherever we happen to be, right? Seeking for better conditions of life, for thriving. And then that's movement. Perhaps it's not dancing, but we are definitivamente en un puente entre aquí y allá por necesidades básicas para que la vida prospere y estemos en bienestar, no solo propio, sino colectivo, porque pues uno busca lo mejor para uno porque quiere lo mejor para su familia o vínculos cercanos, ¿verdad? Lo dejo ahí. There's a lot I've been pondering about this displacement and moving and dance of life, and then like the dancing body, you know, like I've been thinking also that the 10 years of Piso, I haven't been dancing en el escenario para nada. I've been dancing antes de la pandemia en las plataformas en línea, self-documenting, which I learned from Marianne, guerrilla style. You do it yourself. You decide the perspective. It's not male gaze. You get to define your reality. As a movement improviser, even when we're women or colonized, you get to practice freedom. And then you want to expand and stretch that onto life, which is what Beverly was saying. Like, excuse me, I'm not going to wait for budget, or I'm not going to wait for nada. If I have to dance or if I have to thrive, I'm just going to check it out. And if I have to be happy and joyous in midst of chaos and survival, you know, still alive, celebrating and being grateful for that. Fade out.
No, espérate. One moment. Just if you can share, because I don't know everyone knows what the Piso project is, and it seems so important at so many levels, right? Because it's like como la se lleva place everywhere, right? You take it with you. And so if you could talk a little bit about what that project has been.
I want to say, Melanie, thank you for leaving the quiet space so that we could listen to the dance floor. What you were listening to, the sounds, were my feet or point of contact with the wood panel. And that's a mobile dance floor. You know, like las canchas de basketball courts are amortiguadas. They're elevated so that when you run and jump, you're preserving the integrity of the spine and the articulations. For dancers, we need this elevated dance floor so that we can carry on and not hurt ourselves. So, but for me, it's also a metaphor of being back in Puerto Rico. I started dancing en la sala de mi casa, and to co-regulate, to find harmony in midst of something that I didn't comprehend, that was the world of adults, and to make another energy inside and around me. So, you know, you said I'm a movement artist and an activist, and I feel like I'm really a healer. For me, moving, it's all about healing and co-regulation. And that happens not on the stage, that happens in the world. I'm looking for my place in the world. And then because I'm a movement improviser, which I learned from the master diva queen, Marianne Soto herself, that's another story. And this relationship of embodiment and moving from listening to the body, which is our practice. Tú sabes, Marianne dances with branches and she teaches us energy modes. And then I was like, I want to take this to the urban space. I already had this commuting practice that I was self-documenting. And I was dancing with branches with Marianne, and we were self-documenting. So it's this idea of taking, you know, you use a cushion or a yoga mat for practice, meditation, or moving practice. In my case, I have a movement practice in order to quiet and still the mind. I'm not very good at being still. So improvising is that for me. And then I want to be that person out in the real world. I want to test out the limits of how far, and I just want to be free. That's it. It's simple. It's a practice.
I wanted to add, I'm thinking about me being here, right, in the city and in the Bronx, right, grounded in the day-to-day as a mover, right, moving through rooftops, the backyard. I just self-documented as well. Just going to the park, parking my bike in the corner and just like getting crazy. But one thing I wanted to say is, you know, in the work of decolonization, right, here I am, born and raised in the Bronx, know very little Spanish, hardly any Spanish at all, right? And then you wonder what part you play into decolonization and what part you play into this work of educating and connecting with your people and connecting with your ancestry. And I think that improvisation in of itself and dancing and movement in of itself really allows me to honor myself as a container that is rich, that is already amazing and flourishing and deep and rooted in things that maybe I don't understand. And then to understand myself as a container with so many different pieces that, maybe I'm uncovering and learning about bit by bit throughout my journey, but it doesn't change the fact that it's very valuable, this container that I am. And it's kind of mystical, spiritual, kind of mysterious, and the uncovering is exciting. And I'm starting to honor myself and respect myself and see my body as something that is holding a lot. And it's a container that I feel like I am going to learn about and love and enjoy. So thank you for bringing improvisation to the center of the conversation, as movement, as movers. So thank you, Noemi.
Say something to Beverly, because I was listening. Who gets to define what crazy is? If you're having fun and being joyous and being yourself, that's beautiful. Celebrate that. Ache pa ti.
And she makes a very, very valid point. And I would say this is like one of the many themes that have come from this collective that we're in, and decolonization, and just knowing that you don't have to be in a formal setting to dance, to create that move that inspires you, or to take that image, or to create that poem, to write that word. It's all about decolonizing the formal boundaries that the art world has tried to put upon us. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things that the collective here has been able to exercise and experiment, and just like, there's no judgment in what we're doing and how we're approaching this practice. And then the pandemic has offered us the opportunity to connect without being in the same space. And so I guess with Rosalind, I think thinking about like how we're decolonizing formal practices, formal movements, or how movement is done, or how visual arts is done. I was wondering if maybe you'd like to talk about how your work has been decolonizing in words, everything, your life, or the things that very much resonates with us when we hear.
So I was blessed with the opportunity to contribute my little bits into this project. And when I heard the theme and, the title of the project, I was like, wow. First of all, I'm completely obsessed with this guy. I feel like it is the epitome of perfection, of course, because it is untouched by man. More than that, I wanted to be the voice of the Bronx. And a lot of my pieces, I would say, are inspired by social justice. And gentrification was the first thing that came to mind. And being somebody that was raised in the Bronx and seeing my very own neighborhood change right before my eyes, and the change being so gradual, and me coming back to my old stomping grounds and not really recognizing the place was really something that motivated my piece. And just being the voice for people in the Bronx. There were so many connections here from the fact that I was raised in the Bronx. I also graduated in hostels. I attended hostels for a semester. I mean, like, there was so many things that kind of connected me to the project in ways that nobody even knew. I'm pretty sure, Caridad, when she invited me to be part of this, she's learning that I actually had some ties to hostels, the ties to the community. And so to me, as a Latina in the Bronx, I felt like my piece had to kind of shed light on the anger that, or the reservations, I should say, that come with, being Latina, being from the Bronx, learning that, everything is changing and we can do something about it. and just being rooted here in the Bronx is just where I was, I guess, focusing on when I was thinking about how to put together my piece, and also the incorporations of like water and you know, honoring myself as a woman, as a Latina, as a Puerto Rican. I mean, just so much. It's so loaded. I can go on and on.
In hearing you also, I'm like thinking of that other spaces of moving of listening, right? Like at one point you say, I listened to hip hop and Hector Lavoe, you know, like these ways of moving that are physical, that are sonic, that are ancestral, as Noemi put also sometime in the chat before, right? All these ways in which we do that movement that you brought up, Beverly, in really meaningful ways. I wanted to go, Marianne, it seemed like you wanted to say something before, so I want to invite you to return, maybe.
I guess I just wanted to say something about when we dance wherever we want to and whenever we want to, and in nature, in the supermarket, in the train station, on the corner of the street. I think it's a gift. We're giving a gift to the world, it's not only for ourselves, but I think it inspires people and it liberates others, you know, people that are trapped in this idea that you can only do things in certain ways. I think when we take that freedom for ourselves and listen to ourselves, that we're also doing it for everybody. So that was what I wanted to say.
I want to come back to something related to that, Marianne, but then I'm also going to share first just things that are coming in from the chat from Facebook to say out loud. So there's Alma Concepcion says, felicidades, so moving, creative, and profound spirituality. The connectedness is deep, dance, poetry, inspiring video editing, indeed sharing the same cielo and the same vision. Congratulations to all. I hope you will continue sharing your art and healing in capturing a lot of what we're talking about. And then Angel Quintero has a suggestion for possible inspiration, that Eddie Palmieri, and I was thinking, Rosalind, when I remembered Hector Lavoe in your poem, Eddie Palmieri has a music piece called Displacement in his CD Vortex of Latin Jazz, as we're talking about the diaspora and this colonial relationship between Puerto Rico and the US. I have always thought that it would be great as a modern dance piece. So bringing that into the space. I was thinking, Marianne, I've been like all the improvisation conversation, I think is so rich and can go in so many different directions. And I'm remembering in a conversation that we had earlier that you talked about lo que trajo el mar, right? Of different of the African diaspora, right? Of ways of moving, of ways of listening, of ways of being, in which improvisation is a central part of that, right? And the work that you've done with salsa, and that many of our in the collective have worked either with bomba or with hip hop, with spoken word, where improvisation is so central, right? And so just thinking if you'd share some of that thinking that you've done of the lo que trajo el mar. I don't know if I'm quoting you correctly, but that's what I remembered.
I think maybe one of the things that I say often, and I don't even know where I got this, but I always say, el mar trajo la salsa. It comes from the sea. And, you know, I don't know, I think it's very poetic. And I mean, you can think about the diaspora, you know, this literally African people being brought to the Caribbean on boats on the sea. But also the sea is where we all come from. You know, if you look at the evolution, if you study evolution, you know, life is born in the sea and it comes from the sea. And you know, we have the Caribbean is this place of the Baroque sensibility that Benitez Rojo talks about, you know, how all this, you know, embelequeo que we have as the Caribbean, it comes from the ocean, from the tropical lushness of the environment, you know. And I guess, you know, in terms of improvisation, I think for me, improvisation became the way to decolonize myself. And I'm not, you know, I think decolonizing oneself has really become a buzzword lately, like in the last few years. And I hear it here, and I understand people are trying to find, you know, a kind of sense of freedom and ownership of our own bodies and our own art. You know, for me, improvisation became that. I was trained in ballet, and it wasn't very good ballet, so I got injured. I needed to find a way to heal, and I realized that if I want to dance till I die, I need to find a way to dance that doesn't hurt me, that takes me out of injury. I also realized that over time, that the truth that I was looking for and the knowledge that I was looking for was inside my body. It was in here, in my movement, in my experience. It wasn't in the books that were prescribing what I should think. I had to learn, you know, our bodies are, you know, are really amazing. We can train to do all sorts of things, right? I needed to untrain. How do you untrain? So improvisation became a way to untrain, to be able to really pay attention. And for me, improvisation, you know, for 3 years, I moved incredibly slowly, like so slowly, like, you know, it's going to take me, I mean, I'm looking at the screen right now, so I might take 10 minutes for my hand to reach here. But the whole time I'm moving and breathing and sensing and shifting, and, you know, that kind of attention helps you to understand your own truth. You know, you start to go, wait, this is really what happened. It changes the way you perceive the world. And so I guess, I mean, I can talk about this for a long time. I would like to just, you know, I'll answer other questions, but yeah. I don't want to take over.
No, thank you. I think this is so important, and it's at I feel it's at the core, and we haven't talked about it very much in general in other conversations of really centering improvisation as a practice, right? That yeah, go ahead.
But the other thing that I want to say, and it connects with what Noemi says, that she considers herself a healer. But for me, dancing is healing, you know, and I'll tell you a story about branch dancing, right? And it has to do with also with the idea of performing wherever you want. That it came to me. I have a practice of walking in the woods, you know, and I grabbed a branch. I was actually trying to be invisible. Maybe I said this the other day, but it was like the moment I touched that branch, I had this realization that I was performing. First of all, what I think is like what I aspire to as a performer is I have been working a lot with trying to be present so that, you know, it is about energy and it is about connecting. So I had this moment where I connected, goodness. And And I knew it was performance in the best way that I could imagine that I would want to perform for other people. But here I was all alone in the woods. It didn't matter. After that, I started bringing the camera to the woods so that I could document the fact that this was fine performance, you know? And I think I just lost my track. What was I talking about? What was, because I went off on the branch dancing. I wanted to bring that for a reason. Could you remind me what I was talking about, Alicia?
Yeah, Beverly was like, you could dance anywhere, freedom to dance anywhere.
So, you know, it's connected to that, but it was about healing.
Healing.
I was talking about healing. What happened was that with those branches, I couldn't squat. When I was 50 years old, I couldn't, like, my knees were hurting me. You know, it happens to people. Your knees hurt when you get older. And that branch became like a portable bar. And it's something that I've been thinking about for so long because, you know, the ballet, it never has left me. You know, that was my first training in dance. So it isn't gone, even though I don't dance ballet, but it's not, but the bar, you know, how many years I spent like doing tendus and whatever, and developes and, you know, checking my line at the bar. The branch became like a portable bar that could help me. And using that also it was like a walking stick, you know. I could hang off that I could use my arms to hang off that bar and then get myself to the ground without pain. And slowly my knees got better and I can squat. 15 years later, I can squat. And I feel like squatting has become like the metric by which I know if I'm okay. If I can't squat one day, I go like, okay, I gotta go get my breath. I mean, I know I've got to do my work because you know, if you can't squat, I'm not gonna dance forever.
I think that's
I gotta squat, you know, and squatting is really healthy for many reasons. So okay, I'm gonna stop.
No, great, thank you. But it brings me back to that idea that we've had in some of our emails of sustainability, right? Sustainability, both of the body, sustainability of nature, of the world, right, and the crisis that we are in right now. So I feel like that story takes us to that idea of sustainability. I wanted to bring Caridad in for a minute, still thinking of this idea of improvisation as a practice of resistance and liberation, and maybe sharing just from your work in spoken word and all the poetry that you're creating in this experience in Puerto Rico, right? I feel like it seems to have like really brought a lot of stuff, creative stuff for you. But thinking of what the role of improvisation in this other way of expressing through word and how you may be thinking of it now. Mm-hmm.
Well, my process is it stays pretty much the same. Like when you saw that image of me writing in Loíza, like on a bench in Loíza, like that, in that moment, I am just being present in that space, writing whatever comes to mind, right? So this, you know, I have so many journals and it's just a simple journal, and then I put stickers and, you know, make it my own, and I'll sit somewhere wherever I am, you know, and in all those places I had at one point, you know, sat either in the car looking or, you know, and wrote and wrote and wrote. And what came from those notes was then, you know, transcribed, and then I sit and type it, and then I put the meat on the bone, so to speak. You know, I like to say that in the workshop. So, you know, I create a base of pure, you know, stream of consciousness written down, and then from there I look at what I have there and where I can go from there. So that's pretty much the process where improvisation turns into the poem.
Thank you. Yes, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that process. And I know you have to go, Caridad. So, and we are gonna end soon. But if you have to go right away, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was an amazing experience. Like I said, I will never look at the cielo the same way. I'll always think of you ladies and this project when I look up. So,
And we have more elements to think about together. So,
well, what I noticed was I was like, oh, okay, first it was the piso, then it was from the piso's perspective. Okay. And then we took it to the cielo. Okay. And now we have to see where else we go. But I love it, and thank you, Mariang, for this foundation that you've created for all of us to dance, write, and flourish. So, gracias.
Thank you.
thank you, Caridad.
So maybe I'll throw out. We do have to close. I feel like this went by so fast. I feel there's so
Wow,
much.
it flew. It flew.
Yeah, there's so much
Oh,
that we could continue to dig into. So maybe I'll just bring it like super open. If there are things that anyone wants to share before we go, like something that is stirred inside, that you'd like to share as we come to this culmination of this project.
don't be shy. Okay, I'll start. So for me, it's just being inspired by the just the way we're decolonizing the traditional boundaries of our practices and interweaving them, and then building upon it with our gaze. I know Elise and I we were verbally jamming yesterday, talking about like all the amazing things that the Botanica has put together. And I'm sorry, I'm sad there's no time for it, but what I see is like the evolution, the next thing. Anybody else?
I like to say that I was very inspired by all of the meetings we were having, because it made the process much more streamlined. And I felt like I had a duty to honor everyone's respective work in my piece. So one is to honor Caridad's editing, and I wanted to showcase it without interrupting it, because it was not only like each individual artist's work, like Alicia, Beverly, Marian, me, etc., but it was already processed through Caridad's filter. And then I was assigned to reprocess her process and put my own, put it through my wash and dry, So I felt like it was a passing of the torch, like, the dancer creates the piece, they pass it on to one editor, and then the editor passes on to another one. So I thought that was a very unique process, and I very much enjoyed creating it for you all. And yeah, it was very fun, and I have a folder of a whole bunch of sky images now, because I was just going through my library, and it's like, okay, here's another sky picture, here's another sky picture, and here's another one. So it's cool to focus on an element in whatever place it is, whether it's here in America or in the Caribbean. It was fun. So thank you so much again.
I just want to thank everybody. I've really enjoyed being part of the meetings, and also watching the three different performances. What are these? Anyway, the three online events and sharing and the discussion. So I really thank you, and I especially want to thank Jane for her brilliant bringing us all together and keeping this alive, and Alicia and Beatriz for your curation. So thank you very much for including me. It's been really wonderful, and I'm just really thrilled to see these young artists that are so bright, and you have a great future ahead of you. I'm really excited to see what you're going to make next. And Linda, meeting Linda. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. It's been an honor, and I just want to say, like, just integrating what's considered as static photography and just being able to bring the element of Pepong into the circle with the movement has been an honor, and just working with in these private sessions, now public. It's just it's a wonderful practice that I hope to continue among the group.
Also, shout out to Linda's graphic design. She designed the front and end credits. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Noemi, diga algo.
Feliz cumpleaños a Mariana y Pepón. Son Géminis, junio 8 y junio 10. Imagínate eso.
Wow, that's heavy.
Felicidades.
Gracias, Marian, Pepón y Patty. Gracias, Jane. Gracias, Alicia y Beatriz, que no está aquí. Y Linda.
Está aquí, Pepón. Linda está aquí.
Beautiful.
Qué rico.
I'll share maybe before Beverly or Rosalind come in, but from also YouTube, Retumba says, Hola from Retumba, so proud to see you all and such rich dialogue. So much we need to share. Mil gracias.
Yes, I will share. It's so exciting to, use a lot of layers in your work, and to be, I really managed to think about nature's cues and what the seasons is telling us about our own lives and the rhythms of our own lives and the rhythm of our breath, and just you all influenced me in many ways to utilize nature, as well as the pandemic, right? It influenced me as well, and I'm so excited to dig more into that. And thank you for that inspiration, and for bleeding into my work. Thank you.
So Alicia, where are we now?
I think that unless Rosalind wants to say last things, we can close. I'm not sure if Rosalind's. Yeah,
I'm listening. I just wanted to say I'm so thankful for being part of this project, being, in the midst of this pandemic, and being able to connect with you all. It just gave a little bit of life, and it gave purpose, and I'm just excited to have been part of this, and just grateful. So thank you all, everybody involved.
Thank you. I think that maybe I'll finish with some words that we had here as we were thinking a lot about how our work is counter to white supremacy, that we've talked a lot about throughout the time that we have been meeting, and that at the core of the work that we do that is counter to that are like these words that we had in capital letters, Linda and I, as we were preparing for today, and were trust, the collective, nurturing, transformation, and solidarity. So I'll offer that as our closing.
Can I add something? I'm thinking of joyousness, how this project that is collaborative has felt so light, maybe because we're dealing with the sky, we have lightened up to fly. And I think that's really important. The process is just as important, and it'll bleed into whatever we're doing. ¿Entiendes? So, and then the portals of open communication and generosity and reciprocity is part of the trust, right? And I was thinking before that improv can lead to collaboration and cooperation because it's a listening practice. I don't know.
Gracias. Yes. Yay. So I think that we can end here, and we can say a humongous thank you to Jane Gabriel for bringing Pepatián into such activated form and manifestation. And just thank you again, Marianne, for this dedication truly comes from our hearts and made so much sense for us organically to dedicate this to you. So thank you. I never know how to end, Jane.
Oh, we do actually.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. I can do this stuff, Linda. Should I do this stuff?
Sure, go ahead.
Let's see. So I'll do the wrap up. Thank you so much. I mean, you know, it's really good and more will happen. More is already happening. There's lots going on. And I'm going to do the pitch for like next week. We have a lot happening. There's 3 nights at Pregones Theater, bringing tobacco and cedar, and fourth iteration of International Indigenous Women Artists gathering together. Alicia will be sharing some work there as well, self-identified Indigenous, you know. And then on the 25th is the Hip Hop Homelands. It's a showcase of up-and-coming dance and spoken word artists, co-curated with Caridad de la Luz and Rockefeller. So there's a lot of really good things happening next week. Thanks again. Yay!